trailer for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle has released, and as such, it's got people a little bit worried, not because of the gameplay or the graphics or anything to the effect of how the game is actually going to play, but because of one little part in the trailer where somebody who is admittedly of a certain sexual persuasion that probably holds certain ideologies is heavily involved in the game as the narrative director. Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and you're getting a lot of pushback from individuals on this side of the internet about the new Indiana Jones game, and to be fair, it's completely understandable why. If you watched Saturday Night Hypnosis last night, then you know that we had some varying opinions on the game and whether we should be worried about it or not. And I kind of wanted to cover that in its own standalone video more than what we got yesterday on SNH, and just talk about where you draw the line, where you're worried about it, should we be worried, whether that worry is warranted, and I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, like with most things. So let's go ahead and get into talking about this game. Before we do, hit that subscribe button. I'm a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day, always the political twinge, and that's because free speech is being taken away in nerd culture, and regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, I think free speech is paramount. It's the most important thing that we could possibly have as nerds to get our voices out there, to get our voices heard, and to get the products that we want, alongside, of course, voting with your wallet. With all that being said, let's go ahead and let's break this trailer down. Let's actually talk about the, woke versus non-woke ideas that are presented in it, and we'll go from there.
Indiana Jones is such an iconic character, and he means so much to so many people.
I'm going to already stop right here. So this individual, she starts this presentation, she begins talking about Indiana Jones, and as I've said multiple times on my channel, I'm sure you guys are probably even tired of hearing about it by now, my favorite film of all time is Raiders of the Lost Ark. That and Army of Darkness. If you were to give me just two movies, sit me on a deserted island, they're the only movies I get to watch the rest of my life, Raiders of the Lost Ark and Army of Darkness are going to be it. Makes sense, Indiana Jones and Evil Dead are also my favorite trilogies of all time, but I think those are the apex of both franchises. So yeah, obviously Indiana Jones means a lot to a lot of different people, which is why I find it funny that a lot of people are throwing a fit about the, the for modern audiences line that we're about to hear with that very clearly homo dude here coming up. But at the end of the day, I met a few gays. I never met a gay that didn't like Indiana Jones, so, it sort of makes sense.
Everyone here at the studio has their own indie stories and memories. Most of us grew up with his adventures and have been fans of the movies and the character for years. He's a brilliant archaeologist. He's a charismatic everyman, he's passionate and determined. And
alright, so far, all the right things are being said. In fact, sometimes all the right things are being shown. I mean, we got Todd Howard right here. I know a lot of people have very mixed opinions on Todd Howard. I think the dude is just a living meme at this point that does tend to make good games, so regardless of whether your thoughts on Todd Howard, I like that he's involved, I'm A-okay with it. There was a lot of debacles about Starfield, and I made plenty of videos on that. People were talking about the woke ideology in Starfield, and I think people were blowing it out of proportion, especially when you compare it to things like Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 was probably one of the wokest games of the last year. It was atrocious, and I get it, a lot of you might not like that word woke. I don't either, but at the end of the day, let's keep it real, let's call it what it is. That was what it was. When you're swinging in as Spider-Man and you're saving someone, and this is the random NPC off the cuff is like, my boyfriend's a big fan of you. Like, alright, in isolation, that's whatever, but when it's a constant theme throughout the entire game to the point where they're shoving it in there just to push a message, yeah, that gets old real fast. So, all in all, I'm A-okay with Todd Howard being involved. I think that, Starfield's an example of, yeah, we very well might see some ideology stuff, but is it going to be enough to turn people off to the game itself? Is the story going to be laden with it? Is the gameplay going to be affected? Is it going to take priority over the actual Golden Circle mystery or Great Circle mystery? I really don't think so, but again, if you're not familiar with this, I'll keep going.
for us, he's synonymous with adventure.
Now we have the opportunity to tell...
This guy right here, this is the guy that's got a lot of people worried, and frankly, just take a look at him, I understand why. The dude looks like he's a reject for a Chris Chan cover band. Like, if you just had like 5 Chris Chans all on stage together playing songs about raping their own mom, this dude would be the front man. He would be the lead singer, and I get why people are concerned. You got the Bethesda logo and all of its nice rainbow colors that I'm sure you would never see if they had, let's say, a Saudi Arabian division. He's got himself that nice little rainbow pin here because just a shirt isn't enough. You got the shaved head. The dude is a classic example of, look at me, my homosexuality is my entire identity, or my transsexuality, or whatever the hell he is. I don't even know. I don't care. I don't even know if it's a he. For all I know, this could be an it. But what he's saying is, so far, isn't a big deal until we get to one particular line that I understand why people are worried about.
A new Indiana Jones story for a modern gaming audience.
There we go, modern gaming audience. That has caused a lot of people to whinge and recoil, and Frankly, I understand why. Anytime you hear the words for a modern audience, you immediately get wary, because what does a modern audience mean nowadays? Well, modern audience means it's going to be woke, it's going to be laden with identity politics, it's going to have cultural Marxism, it's going to elevate female characters over male characters just to promote forthright feminism, it's going to have some sort of ideology in it. I mean, clearly the dude presenting this is full of, he's just shooting rainbows out the ass. Like, let's be real. I get why folks are worried. However, I want to draw attention to something, because I gave you guys all this info up front. You know, I didn't want to bury the lead like so many folks do. That being said, how much of this have we watched so far? Like 30, 45 seconds? This is a 13-minute video if you look down here. It comes up into the 5-minute mark, and it's a 13-minute video. Now look at all the rest of the stuff they're showing off.
Our game is all about putting you in Indy's shoes, letting you see and feel what he sees and feels. For us at Machine Games, we do that best through first person. It's the ideal perspective to bring you into the rich, exciting, and interactive world we've built.
Now, a lot of people, let's stop right there, because a lot of people, they want to focus on the, for modern audiences thing. They want to, oh, that's such a big deal, which, to be fair, again, I understand why people think it is. That is a poisonous phrase. But what he said next is actually pretty great. We want to put you in the position of, the first person, because in Machine Games, that's what we do best. You know what? That is what they do best. I mean, did you ever play the recent Wolfenstein games? That's what they did best, first person. Compare that to Justice League kills the Suicide Squad, Suicide Squad kills the Justice League, and compare that to the Arkham games. The Arkham games were fantastic. They are somewhat, like, I can completely understand if those games were some people's introduction to Batman and comics, because they were such magnificently created games. You take that same studio and you have them make a looter shooter called Suicide Squad kills the Justice League, and it is abysmal. It is the most generic, basic, boring-ass game you can think of, because they fundamentally changed and altered what it is that they are normally comfortable with. A first-person experience, not first-person, a single-player experience focused on being, combo heavy. Like, it's a complete departure of what that studio is good at, what that studio is comfortable with. So you know what? Maybe you can just call your boy a pragmatist. Maybe I'm just being practical, being pragmatic, but I care that the studio is, from a gameplay perspective, sticking to what they are good at, rather than trying to do something else that's gonna, appeal to the masses of generic gamers nowadays. Like, we already had Indiana Jones, a blasphemous Indiana Jones film with Indiana Jones 5. And again, if you saw my review on that, you know that it is quite literally my least favorite film ever made. I'm not saying it's the worst, but Indiana Jones 5 is my least favorite film ever made, because it disrespects and denigrates one of my favorite, if not my favorite hero, so much. When you watch the actual trailer to this game, there is literally none of that. So, again, I'm happy this studio is sticking to what they know and doing what. Now, does that mean it's going to be free of identity politics? Does that mean it's going to be free of any woke stuff? No, not at all. However, we got two trailers. We got the cinematic trailer and we got this gameplay trailer, and when you add them together, the runtime between the two adds like 18 minutes or something. Man, if we get 30 seconds of some cringe woke weirdo talking about modern audiences over the course of 18 minutes cumulatively, I think that we got to play the odds here and, actually use some critical thinking and not wince and whinge at some one-off stuff that, again, could be there. But is it enough after 18 minutes? Is that 30 seconds or 45 seconds, however much? Is that not even one full minute in an 18-minute cumulative 2 trailers enough to turn you off to the idea of what could be an amazing Indiana Jones game, especially after the bastardization we got that was the 5th film? I don't even remember the name off the top of my head. It's that bad.
Up close and personal to the adventure is key, making each action feel like your own.
Whether it's cracking your whip, solving puzzles in ancient temples, or seeing your knuckles go bloody in a fistfight, all of the...
See, I'm more worried about the puzzles. I'm gonna be real. I'm more worried about the puzzles in the ancient temples than I am about any sort of woke ideology in the game. You wanna know why? Because games nowadays, they're made for dummies. They're made for morons. They're made for people that can't stand doing puzzles for more than 30 seconds because it makes their little brain cells hurt. Nah, if I'm gonna be solving ancient puzzles in labyrinths that were created by generations of civilizations long past, I would want those to be a bit difficult. I don't want just take item from point A to point B, boom, problem solved. Now maybe it's because I grew up playing the Resident Evil games, and while they are horror games, the OG Resident Evil games are also puzzle games at heart. I love me some puzzle gaming, but like, my point is, I am more worried about them dumbing down this game so that idiots can play it than I am that Indiana Jones is going to suck cock somewhere in the game. I just don't believe that that's going to happen. Also, by the way, speaking of Indiana Jones, just like, mad shout out to Troy Baker. He's the one doing the voice, and I gotta say, he captures Indy's voice pretty well. I'm impressed. Troy Baker's a very good voice actor, but I didn't expect him to give us such a good Harrison Ford impression, so yeah.
These moments are much more intense in first person.
But we still want you to have those moments. Seeing his iconic silhouette with the hat and the whip, and so for things like cutscenes and environmental traversal, we pull the camera back for a third-person view. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is set between Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade.
You know, probably where the most recent film should have been taking place, because if you saw, the first 10 to 15 minutes of the movie, you'd actually have an impression that, oh, this is good, or at least this is passable. And then, of course, the movie continues. Look, we're not going to spend all day on this. Like I said, this is a 13-minute video, and of course, there's the other trailer. However, I did just want to point out that, yeah, I'm not super worried about this game. I'm not worried about this game yet, at least. Now, we've got more time till it comes out. We've got, more developer interviews, more interviews with creators, more information that could come to light. Like, yes, it very well could be a nightmare. But I'm not seeing enough yet, aside from that, poisonous phrase, to really throw us through a loop. And also, we've seen that, phrases like that be used before, and it turned out to be nothing. If you guys saw the Dungeons and Dragons movie, a lot of you were, you were enjoyed it. You at least thought that it was a decent, passable movie. Many people were surprised that there was a very strong family and fatherhood message in it. Well, think back to the Dungeons and Dragons marketing. What did the idiot writers say? Like, the reason I didn't see this movie in theaters was because, despite being a massive Dungeons and Dragons fan, real Dungeons and Dragons, not that modern Wizards of the Coast 5th edition crap, talking 3.5 or older. Anyway, what did the writers say in an interview? Oh, we love making men uncomfortable. We love demasculating men. We think that that's funny and original and something that's not really been explored before. They went on this interview talking about how the demasculation of men is new, original, and great for comedy. This movie came out in 2022, don't forget, or real early 2023, whichever. So, like, it was not new and original anymore. It had been done pretty consistently since 2016, give or take. So, yeah, when I heard the writers talking like that in an interview, I was turned off. I didn't even see the movie. I was like, screw it. They're going to wokeify Dungeons and Dragons. What a shock. Lo and behold, I saw it when it came to streaming, and it actually really didn't. I mean, the movie was still just fine. It was like a 5, 6 out of 10. It wasn't a great movie, but it wasn't anything politically absurd. So, yeah, I definitely get why people are worried about this, and I would say, be cautious, be wary, but maybe be cautiously optimistic, because if we look back to previous examples where idiots have said stuff in press releases or press conferences that don't actually, have anything to do with what's in the actual content or in the meat of whatever content you're consuming, anime, movies, comic books, whatever it is, then yeah, I don't really see a whole reason to worry here. I mean, I already said that I think people overreacted on Starfield, and thus far, this seems less woke than Starfield. So, have the opinions on that you want. Call me Lefty Leon, call me a raging liberal. If you want to, go for it. Look, at the end of the day, I'm a pretty down-the-middle individual. I'm a centrist. I think left-wing ideology is abhorrent and annoying, absolutely absurd. I also think we run the risk of, swinging too far in the other direction when it comes to the right. So when I talk about this all the time. I remember when the right-wing Christian fundamentalists wanted to ban video games or ban Dungeons and Dragons or ban heavy metal music. I, of course, am like most rational, sane people, I'm going to find the middle ground probably where most of our entertainment should be. I highly, highly doubt we're going to see any hardcore political messages in an Indiana Jones game. At least, I really hope we're not. We saw it already in the movie, and guess what? It was one of the biggest bombs of 2023. Like, there's been people who've been upset that there's this one scene where there's a woman who's like, see if you can keep up, and Indy was like, keep up, and they're raging on Twitter like, woman talking down to Indy, and I'm like, yeah, did you guys watch any of the other Indiana Jones movies? That happens all the time. It's not just a product of modern Hollywood. Marion Ravenwood would do that. She and Indy had that fun banter. Willie Scott, Elsa, German last name, I don't remember because she was a Nazi. Like, there's always been spunky women in the Indiana Jones series. It's just unfortunate in the most recent one, Phoebe Waller-Bridge wasn't even spunky. She was just I don't even have words. She was ugly, she was masculine, she was patronizing, she was, cocky, she was a complete scene destroyer, not even a scene stealer, unless, of course, stealing is actual thievery, then she stole the scenes in such negative ways that she should be put on trial for war crimes. I can go on and on about how much I loathe Phoebe Waller-Bridge and loathe her in that film. But I don't think that's what we're going to get with the woman in this game. People are worried you're going to have to play as her. And like, it's an Indiana Jones game. I want to play as Indy. And I'm over here like, I just want to play a good, well-crafted Indiana Jones story, and if that means playing as other characters to further that story, I don't mind it. Will I be upset if Indy is usurped in his own game? Absolutely. At the end of the day, it's an Indiana Jones game, and like I said, Indiana Jones is my favorite trilogy of all time. Honestly, I'm even kind of an apologist for Crystal Skull, so that being said, massive Indy fan, no, I'm not going to be upset if you don't play Indy the entire game. If his partner character is as well-written and fun as someone like Marion Ravenwood was, then yeah, that could add an entirely interesting dynamic. She could play in an interesting, she doesn't have a whip, maybe you've got to do something else. I don't want it to be like Mary Jane in Spider-Man, because unlike in Spider-Man, Mary Jane, she's not a hero. Mary Jane has never been a superhero. Well, I guess she is now with the new Jackpot comic. But either way, Mary Jane, she is not the equal of Spider-Man. She's never even on the same level. She's a supporting character for Peter Parker, and that's all she is. Playing as her in a Spider-Man game, absolute garbage. But playing as Indy's partner, actual partner in crime, of which he has in every single adventure, he's got a partner with him. Yeah, playing as Indy's partner, not going to be a big deal, as long as they're well written and the gameplay is fun. But look, I've prattled on about this long enough. I just want to get your guys' opinions. Like, are we jumping the gun? Is the internet jumping the gun when they're saying, hey, this Indiana Jones game is going to be crap, it's going to be woke? Are you going to give it a shot? Where do you draw the line? It was Starfield too much? Obviously, Spider-Man 2 was too much for me, but maybe it's not for you. So let me know where you draw the line. Let me know your thoughts on this Indiana Jones game. And by all means, hit that subscribe button. I am a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day. Not always about video games, but anime, movies, music, Magic the Gathering, you name it. Also, check me out on Instagram at wordsofparadise_Leon. And remember, it's all here in the Nerdosphere, and this has been Words of Paradise.